2022 Digital. Good afternoon, Shervon. How are you? Unmute your microphone, please.
Hey, Mark. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my brother.
How are you, brother?
I'm taking it easy, normal as ever.
It's been a couple weeks.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago, and to the Power 102 executive. As always, thank you all for this space you all have created for men in this country. And Mark, thank you always for being a gracious host.
Hmm.
We want to apologize to you all for our absence the last 2 weeks. There was a lot going on, and we'll get into it during the course of this program. Mark, how is your Christmas season shaping up, though?
Well, what I can say is shape it up.
Are you one of those who has to put away the whole house, like the
No,
rule of tech?
no, 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 no. I that is a frustrating feat. you know, you know. I try to keep away from that. I try my best to be ready. Without all that kind of hard work. You see, a lot of my time I used up into work and other things, so I can't let that absorb or consume too much of my time.
Yeah,
I am always ready, where the cleanup thing is concerned.
yes, yeah. I follow you. I don't know how people do that in a Mac. I mean, my mom, she was one of those persons. Still
It's a
is
kind of
one of those
traditional.
persons.
It's a kind of traditional thing.
Yeah. So she had us under that duress. I would say, mom, if you're listening now, for years growing up.
Yeah,
Thankfully, now I'm on my own.
yeah.
Yes. And my wife isn't that type of person either. So we perfect match where that is concerned.
Nice
Yeah. I don't know how people do that. And then you're up late Christmas Eve night trying to
to finish, and
yeah.
you don't enjoy Christmas Day that way.
No. You're tired. You can't
Yeah.
make after that. So the last 2 weeks, I mean, we had International Men's Day and we had the first inter island or regional international men's day conference that we had announced to you all a couple weeks back. And was really a last minute arrangement. And we thanked the Office of the Prime Minister for choosing to partner with us, and the Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, the Minister of Gender Affairs. I think I botched your title a bit, and I apologize, not intended. And Dr. Ward and I would have been on that program, and we went through some of the exciting things we would be discussing and doing over those days. And yes, there everything didn't turn out as expected, Mac, as it happens at times. And we will touch on all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because I think it's important um, for us as a society to learn, and also for those in authority to understand um, the cry of men and fathers in our country. Because you see, all too many times, and we've said it repeatedly here since we started this program and even before, and I'll say it again. We call on men to step up, and we call on men to be active and become proactive and to get involved. And when men do so, you often see, um as Rondell said, and I use as well, we ask them to step up, but then we remove the rungs of the ladder for them to step on. We make it difficult for them to step up. We make it complex for them to step up. When we talk about things like domestic violence, and people say, well, men doesn't want to go and report it. It's not a matter of men don't want to go and report it. We make it difficult, right? We stereotype men. We treat them terribly at times, sometimes. And so the when we get the response, then we criticize the response that we get from men. So in the activities we had lined up, and Rondell is coming on shortly, we had on the first day of the men's day, Mark, we had the walk, right? The work to bring awareness to men to the issues affecting men and boys in the region. And we were so grateful on that walk. We walked from the promenade to the Queen's Park Savannah, stopping at key points, right? We stopped between the Parliament and the Hall of Justice there because of the significance of those two institutions to our democracy. And then we stopped at the family court, because the family court are also an important element or institution in the forming of the Fathers Association. And when you listen to Rondell's story and Wendell and the others, you would understand how their experiences in those institutions would have given them with the drive and the purpose and the passion to form this association. And so we were grateful for all who turned up. I want to thank the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service, the Commissioner of Prisons, the Deputy Commissioners, and all of the officers who were present on that day. They sent a full contingent of persons to participate, understanding from the prison point of view the need to address the issues facing men. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, they see the worst result, right? Those in the prison system. They see after everything has failed, what can be the outcome for men and boys in this country when things have fallen down. Good afternoon, Rondell.
Good afternoon, Shervon. Let's keep it going a little bit. I'm trying to see if I could get to put the avatar, if I could put it on my screen behind that, right?
Okay, all right, yeah. So we thank the Trinidad and Tobago prisons. We thank and Rondell will name some of the sponsors who came on the day, on the Sunday, and all of the participants who came, the men and women. But that's where things got a bit interesting, right? We had representatives from other islands. We had the Minister of Health or the Minister of Gender from Grenada. We had some minister representatives from Anguilla. We had representatives from the gender ministries in Nevis, and I believe it was Bermuda. Rondell will confirm. Also present to participate in the match with us. And as I said, this is where things get a bit interesting. Because on the day of the match, when we inquired of the permanent secretaries who were assisting in coordinating these events, we were advised that the minister had another commitment and was unable to make it that day, right? Sometime thereafter, Rondell would have been doing an interview with the media, and he would have highlighted his disappointment and our collective. And when I say our, no, I don't mean our just being the Fathers Association. No. That every man, boy, and the woman who were present there on that day, our collective disappointment with that, with the ministers or no ministers' attendance, right? So the minister indicated to her PSs that she had another engagement, unfortunately, and could not attend. They informed us on the day. And I think the point people miss, because thereafter it spiraled into Rondell being called a bully for expressing his disappointment on behalf of all men. And that was so concerning, right? That again, and that is the point I started off saying earlier, when men decide to step up, remove the rungs of the ladders. Because here you have a group of men who are trying to make a positive stand in our society that is crumbling right now because of crime, delinquency, immorality, all kind of things taking place that is causing the chaos in our society. And you have a group of men who are standing up, and because we express our disappointment, we are labeled as bullies. And not just labeled as bullies. The statement said, and I quote, as a female minister, right? I felt bullied. So that to me has a special meaning towards it as well. Because now you're highlighting the female, your gender, and saying, I am taking it as males, or they're bullying me because I is a female. And nothing could be further from the truth. Because at the end of the day, listeners, at the end of the day, there isn't just one minister or one member of parliament in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. There are several, right? And I'm talking to all, both government and opposition, right? There are several members of parliament. There are several ministers of government, right? There are several other senior office holders. And we are saying, just a few weeks before, Rondell, Wendell, and I attended a domestic violence conference that obviously the tone of it was largely focused on the victims of domestic violence, women. And we saw at that conference quite a number of ministers present, and present for the whole day. Not for part, but for the whole day. There were those who came and went, but there were those who were present for the whole day. And we are saying, why is it different for men? Everyone who drinking your political juice and high on it, drunk on your political juice, and came after Rondell in the days following to say, so what happened? Where's the problem? The minister says she couldn't be there. We're not even directing this at the minister. I've said this to the minister as well. This is not a personal attack on the minister. This is an attack, though, on the way we treat men in our society. That like they are fifth-class citizens, not even second class. Like they don't matter. That is the way we've treated men in our society. And when we express that, well, all is bullies. But if that is the case, then label me bully as well. And label the other men who stood with us and women who stood with us on that day bullies as well. Because we are saying we have a right to the same representation. Because when the election bells ring in a couple months, I don't have to invite you to find where I live in. Every one of you all will be knocking on people's door and hugging them up and kissing the baby and asking them to vote for them. All of a sudden, all of them time will be free. All of a sudden, when nobody else time, when nobody had time, everybody's schedule will clear. Come when the election bell rings. Afternoon, Jaffield. Thanks for joining us, brother. Everybody's calendar and schedule will clear when the election bell rings. So we are saying, even if the minister had a prior engagement, because we know this was put together last minute in collaboration with the UPM. So let's say the minister had a prior engagement on that Sunday for the match. You're telling me it had no other minister, no other member of parliament, nobody, no collaboration among your colleagues and say, hey folks, you know there's a men march on this day in collaboration with the office of the prime minister. It's important for us to be there. The new Minister of National Security recently giving an interview to the media a few weeks ago said we need men to step up. And we said, well, we appreciate your sentiment. Are you going to join us now in creating avenues for men to step up? You telling me not one member of parliament from government and opposition? And don't tell me nothing. Don't tell the Fathers Association anything about I didn't get an invite. Because I just made the point, when election bells ring, I do invite you to come and ask me to vote for you. You just invite yourself into the communities, some for the very first time since the last election. You just invite yourself onto people's front doors. So where were all the members of parliament on the government side, the opposition side, even those who hold no office but have aspirations to hold office? Those parties there who are not presently in government but aspire to hold offices in government, where were you? What activities did you do to commemorate men on International Men's Day and to address the issues and the plight facing men in Trinidad and Tobago on International Men's Day? Where were you? So I say it resoundingly. If that is what bullying is, then I am a bully. I am a bully. Because it bothers me every day when I open the newspaper and I am seeing young men and boys in this country being slaughtered by other young men and boys. It bothers me when every couple weeks I'm seeing a suicide by a teenager and a young man or an old man. It bothers me. It bothers me when ministers give speeches about suicide and the impact of suicide in this country, and they fail to mention that men are the greatest at risk when it comes to suicide in this country. It bothers me when we're having conversation about domestic violence like we've been having in this country for the last couple of days. 16 days of activism. And in many public announcements by government agencies, men are not even mentioned as victims of domestic violence. So I say, if that makes us bullies, then so be it. Line me up. And to those, I go back to those who drink in the political juice, who high on the political juice, because that's your party. So nobody must say nothing bad about your party, whichever party it is. I want you to know the trouble that affects men in this country is not limited to people outside your party. The men and boys in your home, they will not be spared by your party card. Your party card will not make them immune to the issues affecting men and boys in this country. You can't wave your party card to save them from suicide. You can't wave your party card to save them from being attracted to gang. You can't. You can't carry a party card in jail now and get them out. So get off. You stop drinking that juice. You could support a party. Nothing is wrong with that. That's your democratic right. But at the end of the day, you could tell the party you support that you are not representing me properly, regardless of which party that is. So I say to all you know, call me a bully too. Call me Mr. Bully. Call me Mr. Bully. Rondell, I know I'm going off on a tangent.
Hey. That's Shervon, you get me?
Yeah, yeah. Loud and clear.
Right. Yeah, man. I mean, you see, at the end of the day, this didn't and wouldn't only impact me because I wasn't the only person involved. This impacted a lot of people. This impacted the women that were involved with us as well. We had a large percentage of women that was a part of the plan, and you know that one of the collaborators was also Dr. Joan Bob Ward as well of Hope and Action Network, and she was there with every meeting with us. We didn't exclude women out of this at all because, as you rightfully know, we continue to say that we can't change anything without women. We're not even going to try to attempt anything. Our purpose and modus operandi is not to make the lives of men alone better, you know. It's to make the lives of everybody better. Men and their families, which is inclusive of women and children. I mean, so that has always been our modus operandi. And what was disheartening, as they say, is that the fact in the very same thing, and that's a slap in the face to me, boy. That's what good, because we have pioneered for years, even in that same domestic violence forum, where we spoke about false allegations being levied against men. And I mean, in this nature, is of a lesser, I'm not saying that it isn't damaging as well, but it's not like in a sexual nature or in the ways that we normally see it. But it was really disheartening to me. And you know what's really grateful to me? My family will tell you. You could attest to it as well, Shervon. I came to you guys and I said, boy, I think this minister genuinely wants to reach out to men. This minister genuinely wants to to do something where men could benefit. And I had that belief as well. So it was so shocking to me for somebody to say something about me that was totally untrue and say that I bully them, and it was really hurtful because especially in our society right now where bullying
we've seen recently people take their lives allegedly due to bullying, and the whole tantrum of bullying that has been ventilated across every vein and every pipeline. That somebody would say that I attempted to do that to them, and because of their gender versus my gender, it's as if I tried to strong arm them, which was the furthest thing from the truth. And the thing is, this thing was so positive. Even though we had all that little bacchanalia taking place that was uncalled for, it still turned out so positive, so inspirational, so helpful. It guided so, and I thank God and I thank you guys for your support during that time too. That we didn't allow it to distract us from what our mission was. We didn't allow it to deter our goals, or getting at our goals, and appealing to and reaching to our target group. Those men were so inspired, felt so good even on the march. I mean, with the low points of the march was when we got to the place where we were to assemble, because it reflected exactly what was said to Errol Fabian. As I said before, that hurt me so much, to hustle, bring down your family, gather all these people, you, Shervon, with your whole family, your wife, your sons, me with my sons, your partner, everybody there. You understand? And only to hear from Errol Boy that a man who came here, he didn't even know that was the permanent secretary. He and his wife, they were surprised to know that is the permanent secretary that came to them and said to them, "Oh, is only two all here? Well, I could tell these men's march by the number." Then when I heard from Samuel Sanka when he went, that the same PS was there first, and the PS and the police was there, and he had to say, and this is hearsay, he had to say, "Hey, hold on, let me call Rondell. The match isn't, people will be coming soon," because his interpretation is that he wanted to call off the match before people even got there. I don't know if that part is true or not, but at the end of the day, I after hearing that and then seeing men come out, I mean, nearly 200 men, which from a men's match is good. And particularly at a point in time when we try to bring this to fruition in a month's space. And another thing I read, and I was so hurtful that the minister said that I bombarded her with this project. I didn't bombard anybody with the project. After ventilating myself and showing our experience at the men's bureau, they reached out to me. They reached, and understandably so too, Shervon. We are the lead male advocates. Anybody, we are saying there aren't others, but we are the ones that have made tangible change in the society. Whether people want to accept that or not, that is the truth of it. We've been called misogynist, right? We put ourselves in places where others I mean, not that they may have been afraid to do so, but they didn't. And that is their right so to do. So it's understandable they call us. But when they called us to come and they asked what they want to do with single, they want to do something with us. I know that there was a group and a committee, the International Men's Day Committee, that had been working a whole year before planning a program that had members of the OPM on the part of the planning team. And only right before International Men's Day, up to right before International Men's Day, they were not even responded to. So then I reached out. They said, "Hey, they're not responding to us. The THA not responding to us." And this is a group that did so much planning for a year, a group that there was members of the OPM there that knew that this planning was taking place. So I decided, because of the genesis of what took place in Grenada last year, and the genesis and the high level of planning that the IMD committee was, which I am a part of as well, was doing that entire year. We should at least do something for International Men's Day. The ministry had no plan. After this year, good the events went off. I seen posters, and not posters, I seen press releases of the ministry putting on this project. But we know we are the ones that planned this, and we are watchmen. I will never still say I am not grateful that they supported financially, even though with all the headache, even though with all the hiccups, even though with all the disappointments, even though with all the disrespect, I still will not say I am ungrateful, because it still served a purpose. But we must speak about the areas and the points where people said things that weren't true. You understand? When we to hear the PS would have told that our director, Errol Fabian is one of our directors. So when he reported that to us, that this is what the PS said, and then to go after with 200 men and see 20 chairs and two tents and four tables, not even a market tent, just to the side of the 'cause that was their responsibility. Their responsibility was to arrange the Queen's Park Savannah. So we didn't know if it was the paddock. They said they may not have been able to get the paddock, they may have gotten inside. Just like Arrival Live had those, had a side too. But did you see Arrival Live's decor? I'm not saying Arrival Live possibly didn't fund their own, but I am saying, and that is why we must ask also for an expenditure released to us after, that the budget could have afforded it to make men feel good. The men felt disrespected. That was the energy Shervon were right there. The first thing again, men shifted. So this is where we come, this is where we reach, and we are the ones there because we are partners in the event. So they would obviously think that the Fathers Association knew they were coming there, knew this is the presentation of their reception, knew that this is where we're going to bring ministers from other nations to gather. And I just think that was real poor in taste as a Trinidadian. And I'm not the one to ask myself the question, the media could have felt the vibe of the people that walk. The media could have seen the disappointment in the faces of the ministers that walk. And they asked me, as the collaborator and as most likely the spokesperson in absence of the minister, what was my take? I didn't only speak about the minister and members of cabinet not being there. I spoke to members of parliament not being there, not understanding the value and significance of male participation in this society. The, the cars that most of us driving is men fixing it. The buildings that most of us going in, the homes that we live in, is men build them and building them. 99% of the infrastructure in our society is built by men. No matter how much equality, equity talk you want to talk, the mass majority of our protective services are men. Mass majority. So even if men didn't have the levels of vulnerability as you just lamented when it comes to homelessness, when it comes to suicide, when it comes to murder, when it comes to them being murdered, when it comes to imprisonment as well. Even if they didn't have it, Shervon, their contribution to society is of a enormous magnitude. The very space that you work in is most likely 99.9% built by the hands of men. And to me, it was disturbing that one, the minister firstly did not attend. Two, I was never informed, and then a narrative came out. Not a narrative. Then the minister who said that I was informed and well informed in advance. I had persons calling my cell phone. My son has the recording when I was coming to the day two. A man called my phone in a threatening manner about how I going to fool the youths and them. And you know the minister tell you a long time she wasn't coming. You understand? That upset my son. I just know how to deal with things, and I dealt with him. But long and short of the story, that could never be right. And then after somebody, because I am telling you, those political puppets who go on television and radio and talk their master's will, they don't do that just so. So somebody would have orchestrated that media campaign to smear me. And I said something to the deputy PS because he's good friends with me, DJ Ganga Prasad. You are smearing a man who has represented men, a man who has taken of his time for the last 2 years, go in schools when other people working, talk to young boys, tell young boys be a particular way. You have chosen to go and lie on him, portray him as a bully, for the same young impressionable minds to say, boy, he is one of them. And I didn't mind if it was the truth, you know. But you decided to go and lie, and that is why I asked the minister, and I continue to ask her to present evidence. that I bullied her. I had very little interaction with the minister. I was referred to work with the permanent secretary and the deputy permanent secretary. The deputy permanent secretary was as helpful as he could be. The male coordinator was as helpful as he could be. The director, Michelle Leonard, was as helpful as she could be. But from day one, Shervon, we identified a particular person who was the permanent secretary in that ministry. That from day one, his attitude, we walked out into the elevator and said, I don't, whoever this person is, because we didn't know him. We
We see we're
don't
going to
see
have
him
real
supporting
problems
us.
with that, man. From the first meeting, we said that. We're going to have real problems with this
The
person.
first meeting, day one, look at what he said to Errol. Day two, look at what he said to you. Day three, look at every morning he came with a negative narrative, hoping that it would not be successful. So then, instead of the minister, and I don't know, she never knew, but she should have asked a question as into why things, Mr. Fields, I sent a message to you. Who didn't give you it? Then she might have realized that maybe she sent a message and they never delivered it. And that is exactly what happened. You don't come and say, I told Mr. Fields that he not go like if you said that to me directly. You understand? And that nearly, if we, as I said, I thank you guys for your support. I thank God for his support also. That could have destroyed all the good that we did that on those 3 days. We had meaningful discussion when it comes to paternity leave. We had a floor executive there, as you know. He came and he spoke about the benefit to the floor since they introduced that paternity leave of 2 months for fathers in their institution. He spoke about it not having any economic disadvantage that is touted all over the place that it should have. We were able to award men who should have had national awards. Men like Derek Shabodi, the men like Pastor Dutton, men like Errol Fabian, these men, Jamel Morton, men from St. Kitts and Nevis. You understand? Men that have been doing things across the region. And after this event was so touching. As I said, I flew out to Grenada to personally award the Minister of Health and Mr. Anderson Richardson, a next man from Grenada, that agenda officer. He's the head of the men's bureau that assists us here in Trinidad and assists Grenada to such a high level of what he does for men in that society. And Anderson broke down in tears, the minister himself too. And they were so appreciative that we would, from the Fathers Association, journey across there to award them. And say, Mr. Fields, that we don't waste the day, we go in the prison. The prisoners in Grenada was so appreciative to hear this male positive mentorship and drive. I remember one prisoner tell me, he said, Mr. Fields, I wish they could have taped your speech and play it every morning here. And while in our country, we nearly rubbish something that was so beneficial. I saw the awards go to the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis when they awarded Mr. Everton Weber. You understand? When they awarded Mr. Peter Paul, I think is the other awardee from St. Kitts. And they were so elated to be a part. The Prime Minister made himself present in that International Men's Day Forum to award these men on other events and on our behalf, boy. So, and these were two of our invitees that were supposed to come as well. I didn't even go into that part, that were never invited. When we asked to send out the invitations, they say no, it must come from them. And then you're telling people you're inviting 14 dignitaries of ministerial and prime ministerial status, and you sending their invitation. They have to come this Saturday. You send the people invitation the Thursday. And then for the whole month, when we pushing them and pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. And then the whole month, when we have the changing positions. I remember that meeting and Dr. Ward and myself was in that meeting. I was in transit to Mexico, and on a call with the office of the Prime Minister, where they're saying, well, we don't think you're going to the Hilton anymore. You can't afford to go to the Hilton. We could get the city hall free. I said, but how can we? I said, how, and I asked the PS that, I said, would you feel good to know that foreign dignitaries come in here and that you carry them to the city hall? That minister, your minister going to speak, and ministers going to speak from your cabinet, commending men going to come together. Would you feel good to know that this first event we're going to have of such this a magnitude like this should be conducted at City Hall? Dr. Ward is my witness. And he said, yes. He even asked me, where's the monetary contribution from us, from me? I said, what monetary contribution? I said, the plan was that we planned this and you all would cover the bill. And the budget could cover the bill. You understand? And at the end of the day, we decided that every year is a consultation, every year is a conference. Let's sit, because I spoke to the heads of those who were involved, the male examples now, and Dr. Ward, Mr. Michael Stewart, and we all understood the value of having that consultation the Wednesday, that Wednesday consultation, so that after there was a UV lady who done her research years ago for Shervon that was so excited to present her research. She and Dr. Wendell Wallace as well to present their research to the ministers, the PSs, and the Deputy Prime Minister and Prime Minister of St. Kitts at that meeting. Prepared their research for that Wednesday. Dr. Lilith Harper, only for me to have to tell the woman back embarrassingly, for some reason, the ministry have booked the person's tickets to leave on the day of that very important meeting. That meeting that we would have then sat together as a region and discussed policies and legislative works that could have been the catalyst for change in the region. The fact that the region was ready to come here is because they were ready for that type, they're still ready for that type of discussion. And we had the opportunity as Trinidadians and Tobagonians to take the floor in it. And we gave it, we just let it go. For what reason did they remove that? And that is what my issue as well, Shervon. The minister says that when I don't get my way, I just threaten to go to the media. She is saying that because of what I said when they were breaking all the remits or all the things that were approved by cabinet to do. Cabinet approved that meeting. Cabinet approved that meeting should happen somewhere and somehow. And I believe cabinet saw the value in that meeting. And when I realized that they didn't want to do it, I said, but this is cabinet approved. We don't need a fancy place. It's a closed door meeting. You could give us a office in the office of the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
You could give us anywhere space, 12, 15 of us to sit down and have this conversation. When they realized they sent the letters out late and we didn't get the 14 delegates and we only got 7, they didn't change anything. They didn't say, well, all right, there's 7 of them now, so we could really do it in Hilton. They didn't say, well, now we could step up the expenditure a little bit. At least the 7 we were able to come. There were people who got invited, got confirmed on my way back from Mexico and didn't get a ticket. I have the email evidence of that. By the time they wanted to make arrangements for the secretary to come, the woman said, no, she's not coming again. She's not coming again. I have evidence of those things. Right? So when I see you are embarrassing not only the OPM, yourself, you're embarrassing the country, you're embarrassing Fathers Association, you're embarrassing B-Men, you're embarrassing Hope and Action Network. What am I not to say? And I said to them, I said, if we cannot abide by what cabinet approved, well then better we walk away from this thing. And when people, I had already gone on morning shows, Shervon and Mac and everyone listening. I had gone on morning shows from my bedroom in Mexico. Mexico 2 hours ahead of Trinidad, So when the morning show started at 6 o'clock, I get up 4 o'clock in the morning. Go on morning shows with JW. Go on morning shows with Marlon. Go on morning shows with TTT. And told them that this meeting, this conference is going to be different. This conference is going to be one after we have all the consultation, after we have all the discussion. We're going to have a post-mortem. We're going to offer research. We're going to come up with a memorandum of understanding, things that the other member states had already agreed to. And then when I ask, why are we not going to have this meeting again? No reason given. The PS just don't feel to do it. I do not know if these things were communicated to the minister, but the minister never reached out to us who were also collaborators in this to find out how our staff are treating with things. And if you are collaborating, you must want to ask. We say the Hilton, they say no. City Hall, the best you will get is Government Campus Plaza. I said at that point too, Government Campus Plaza, where we're going to get parking. At the end of the day, just to make sure things go out, I say, hey, what? Put in Government Campus Plaza. That is exactly where they put us. On that day, the number of people that asked where they're parking, that possibly made it challenging for those who would have studied how much they had to pay to park for a day to come to the event, when the event was free. Supposed to be free, so it encouraged more men to come. Thank God we had about 150 men that came out still. But that number could have been bigger if the location was a better location. So if you ask yourself, why was it so challenging? Why do you have to justify something? If you yourself say you want to be a part and do it, you could have told Rondell Fields, no, I know. They could have told me, no, I didn't come with a noose over anybody's head. I didn't bombard the minister to say, if you don't do this, I go in and tell the ministry. Or I go and tell people in Trinidad, you don't do nothing for man. I came with a humble suggestion only because they wanted to do something with us. And I said, instead of you doing something with the Fathers Association alone, that is maybe distant to International Men's Day celebration, the International Men's Day Committee's plan is not going to be pulled off. However, I could get some of the groups that were part of this organization to sector with us or to join with us, and we partner with you. We shared that. We didn't bully anybody. The minister at any time had the right to say, Mr. Fields, we don't think we could do this. We think the time is too short, which I am saying the time was not too short. 1 month, we just plan these events in 3 weeks and execute them with perfection when we do it. And with a lot smaller budget. And I am telling you that we still need to find out what was the expenditure. Because a lot of the cost that was estimated wasn't spent. We were supposed to have a soiree for the guests. There was no soiree for them. And these things, imagine I home and our guests and delegates from the nation calling me, laughing about it, trying to be, trying to laugh it off. But I could tell that they can't get pineapple juice in the hotel they stay in without paying for it. And dinner is included. It wasn't covered in the bill. Orange juice and water alone. So how am I to feel? We were co-hosts too. And that is the issue. And these meetings were so important. Let me segue off of that. Because just from common conversation, Mr. Mario Philip, one of the persons who came as well from Nevis, well, he had asked that boy, he had a very important health issue to deal with. So he was wondering if they would allow him to stay till the Tuesday. When I said, brother, just come home by me. Let me do ask. Just come home by me. I go make sure you reach by the doctor in time, do whatever thing you have to do. We will pick you up. My people will take care of you. And that is what we did. And when Mario came, we just sat in my office and he was just saying, he said that artificial intelligence avatar that you all featured, where you all get that from? And we started talking about it because the Telecommunication Authority at Trinidad and Tobago, I must say thanks to TAP, I must say thanks to the CEO, I must say thanks to the chairperson for sponsoring one. The uploads of if it wasn't for TAP, we would have no streaming involved. No stream. So Fathers Association brought that through tax sponsorship. We'd have no upload stream for people to now go back and see what was recorded on that day. Secondly, the advertising as well. the same guy, same PS who said, what money all they bring, like if there was a shortage of money in the first place. The advertising was covered by my Foreign News Association, Trinidad and Tobago Automotive Dealers Association. They paid for the social media ads, an ad that was done by Intn'l James. They paid for that. Flo paid for the jerseys. You see that Flo on the armband? Flo paid for the jerseys for the match. So corporate and other state authorities saw the value and contributed at our behest because we've worked with those organizations. When they asked us to come and talk to the men, we've done it, and they decided, hey, we will support them. And just to head back to the story, Mr. Phillips said that AI, so Tax said, when I spoke to the tax supplier that they hired, he said, Mr. Pete, we could come, we could do the recording of every event, the live stream of every event. What we will also do as well, we will bring our new artificial intelligence avatar by Tax. That owns that one. That one is named Chris, and he will interact. Let him co-host. He will be able to interact with the boys on the boys session, and then on the event day, he will interact with the fathers. They can make him be a part. He can greet the ministers. It's highly interactive. They also sponsored the ICT for Boys session. That was a major success as well. Because even though we didn't get the boys, we didn't get the approval in time, Shervon, to get the boys out to the men, the boys to men, the schools that we sent it to. And I have the I will release the information from RSC as into the number of attendees. They had as much as I think 20 groups of boys doing ICT training that day. While we were in our conference, we did the ICT for boys, where boys were taught artificial intelligence on that day. The how to navigate it, how to develop it, and these kind of things. So it was very, very good. It was engaging. It was very interesting, and I'll have the data as into how many boys and which schools attended and which boys attended. Those that weren't even in school, because we sent it to Shervon, we sent it to Myla, we sent it to CCC, we sent it to the prison, which is YTC. We sent it to also all the schools in the Port of Spain and even south as far as Tabaki. So a lot of great things came out of it, regardless of the very negative comments that actually came from one of our partners who should have, first of all, reached out to say, Mr. Fields, what happened today? I sent a message to you. And then I would have tell her what was taking place. Maybe she was unaware of the type of behavior taking place by those she left in charge. Maybe, I don't know.
But Fields, I am saying, even if that was communicated, right? I still hold, and that is what I want to focus on as well. Because I was making the point before you came on. When you and I and Wendell attended the domestic violence conference just about a month or two ago, we saw a whole army of ministers present who stayed there for the entire day. Right? That is what we witnessed. Some came and went, but there was a whole army of ministers there present for the entire day because they understood how it will look for an important conversation like that for them not to be present. So I am saying, if because this plan, yes, it planned a month before or a few weeks before, and the minister had another engagement that she couldn't break, you telling me no other minister, no other member of parliament, there was no conversation to say, hey, we need to be present at this, just as we were present at the domestic violence conference to show that men and boys in this country are valuable and valued.
Correct.
Even if you couldn't make it, none of your other cabinet colleagues. And I also made the point that directing it to the opposition, and I'm also directing it to those who are aspiring to be in politics in future. Because I hear people would say, well, we didn't get an invite. And I said, Rondell, when election bell rings in a couple months' time, I do invite you to come and knock on my door, to come and knock and tell me to vote for you and tell me all the things you want to do. I do invite you
and
then.
How many ministers and opposition members I have on my Facebook page? I have direct connection to that, seeing the status, seeing the postings, seeing everything. Nobody can say they don't know when the Fathers Association doing something, Shervon. Because when it's something they want to be at or attend, they will reach out to me to come. You understand?
Yeah.
And you're very right. You're very right. At the end of the day, what you're concerned, the minister would have called me. She wouldn't have sent no message to me if she even did. She would have called me and said, Fields, you know, I know I realize I have something in my constituency that day, but I'm going to send Minister A, B, C, D to stand in my stead. I said, no, beast. I'd have said, of course, no problem, but we must show the members from other cabinets internationally that this is our thing too, that Trinidadian people care too. We would those ministers standing there, actually it look bad, Shervon. It look bad. I'm not just saying it look bad on our country per se, you know. It look bad that we now looking, we expecting our minister or somebody to come to say, well, hey, our ministers care about us too. And you never show up. And then instead of apologizing and saying there was some miscommunication somewhere, your first response is to lie and say, I knew you wasn't coming, and then send your political pindle, Pastor Doodle or Pastor Doodoo, whoever his name is. You understand? To go out there and tell Asata lies and I am the worst person to lie on, the worst person to tell on truth on, because once I know it's not true, you're not going to bother me. I don't know. I don't even know the gentleman. If people who care about me, sending them, Mr. Fields, look what they're saying about you. Look what. Why I don't know this man. This man don't know me. Long and short of the story, I don't care. I don't care who you are. I know the purpose and the mission for what I doing. I know the purpose and mission for what these fellas who standing with me doing to and supporting this initiative. We're not getting paid for this. No minister can tell us say this and say that. We are no puppets. We understand and we see what is valuable to our males in society. Something that will benefit him as well as a man. Or if not him, some child he have, or some friend he have, or somebody. Because jump I jump low. If something happen and your minister and no minister again to help you, as is the case many of the times, because I have plenty ministerial persons that I knew that are no ministers now, zero, and can't help themselves. I want to know if you end up in an issue, particularly one that we treat with, who you're going to look for, who you're going to, you know how much radio men that get false allegation make against them? Who you going to look for? I hope they're willing to help you then. You understand? I hope so.
So there are 42 members of parliament, right? 42 MPs, 30 male, 12 female, and 31 members of the Senate, 20 male, 11 female. 73 in total represent our government, upper and lower house as they call it, or lower and upper house. And you're telling me not one could have showed up during that match? Not one? Not one, as I say, of those who are aspiring for future to be future office holders. Not one. On the Wednesday, on the Tuesday, the minister was there for part of the day. The Minister of Energy, Honorable Minister Stuart Young, was there for part of the day as well. And they both said they had prior commitments. So they came, they gave their speeches, and after a short while in the morning, they had to go to their other engagements. I am saying, Fields, what about everybody else? Just like when we were in that domestic violence conference, or I am sure others had commitments, I sure others clear the calendar. Correct. To make sure, because they understand. So what is the message we're sending? Everybody who is defending it, what is the message we are sending? Right? What is the message we're sending to we boys and men in this country? What's the message? Because you are present at the events, and rightfully so. You are present at the events that represent the issues that impacting women, and rightfully so. But what about the issues impacting men and boys? Are they irrelevant? We don't care about it. We don't care if they continue to kill each other or kill themselves. We don't care if they continue to be abused in silence. We don't care. If that is the case,
Shervon, the statistic and the response says that we don't care. You cannot have 94% of any member of the society homeless and not have a shelter for them. Or the shelter you have is half a shelter. You cannot identify. You have the statistic, because you just give the figures in a lot of press releases. So 94% of your male of the homeless people is of your male population. You know also that 90.7%, because you have the statistic and you use it all the time when you go in for statistics to find out on murder and all these things. 90.7%, and you don't have one bumper sticker, one billboard in violence towards men. Women are the smaller percentage by far. The smaller percentage by far, 8.3%, somewhere around there. Murder generally, whether if it's domestic violence they murdered from, whether if it was crime they were murdered by, all together is only 8.3%. But everywhere you have end violence towards women, and that is fine. But how could you, with the murdered population that is of 8.3%, invest so much concern and time and infrastructure to end violence towards the smaller percentage of the murdered percentile, and the massive one? You don't have not one billboard talking to young men about murder, talking about young men about gang violence. Nothing. You have nowhere put up anywhere. No bumper sticker, no jersey, no match, no rally, no team led by the OPM. None. So we have the statistics that is in dangerous levels. Suicide, 84% for the last nearly a decade now is 84%. It's not today. But you have not sat down and strategized. You build a psychoids all over and then give so-called psychiatrists some discussions to say there. And out of the 27 of them, they must do have a psychiatrist coming anytime, anywhere. Counselors absent. And 84% of your suicide victims are males killing themselves day after day, week after week. Marlon always be sending first. How could you be unconcerned? Not a sign, not a sticker, not a bumper, not a nothing. And I continue to say, if there's percentages, if they could show concern for violence against women with a murder percentile of less than 9%, and it's all that infrastructure, if it was 10 times that, imagine men are 10 times that murdered, 10 times that suicide victim, 10 times that homeless, and then nothing. So we don't ask if you care. Your actions, I said, speak louder than your words. And instead of saying, hey, we dropped the ball and we apologize, one of the lead male advocates known in Trinidad, Tobago, and the Caribbean, you prefer to go on a smear campaign with that group who has done something your own ministry never do. And not just in this government. The government before is the same thing too. Instead of saying, hey, let me join. Because we don't have to do this. This is not our job. And it adds an extra level of stress. My family members will tell you sometimes I can't sleep, That is the reality of it. Because they don't understand why people can't see something that's so sensible. And sometimes men too, you had to stand up for yourself. I'm not going to be here to stand up for nobody forever, I don't know about Shervon, but I'm telling you, particularly this year coming, you have to stand for yourself. And I can tell you, men have been so deprived and pushed down in these societies that I sure even in vote. If you look, and I someday I plan to ask the EBC for, I know they might want to give me trouble. If you look at the non-voting population, I am certain it's more men. and every time I say that in guesstimates before I was right, I am certain more men don't care to go and vote. Get a statistic and show that men are 80% or 70% the non-voters. You want to see how much they're going to like men after? You want to see how much they're going to like men next year? And that's exactly why I want it. Because these statistics are things that have not been ventilated. So men themselves, Shervon, if we're being honest, have no idea that they're in such a demise, When I say the suicide rate, and we give the suicide figures, many a man are surprised to know it's so high. Many men surprised there's so much men that being murdered because they just never pay attention to it. Many men surprised. They know they see 20 vagrants in front of Port of Spain by Royal Bank and his man, but they never knew the figure was so staggering. 667 homeless in the country, over 600 are men. And you, the most homeless you have next to no shelter for. They were supposed to do a shelter. COVID, they take the building, they give it to the Churn Authority. They go in at our next project again to get our next one. For the persons in society who has been identified, boy, this should be some crime, boy. This should be some crime. This is some human rights crime. This is a human rights crime that you have paid no attention to a member of the society. And then a big man sit down, taking pain up on a radio station, trying to combat the work of the few men who are already standing by themselves to get things corrected for every man in society. Because you're drinking political soup. You and your callers. Like if Rondell fees care about you. You don't put the line in my pocket, I don't care about all you. I'm not a political person. I don't want nobody vote. What I want to see is a better society for my people. I don't want nobody vote. I say it publicly all the time. I have been asked by every party to join them and denied all. So what stupidness is telling me about I want to be in party or I want to form party? I'm a young black businessman who mother never leave nothing for him, father never leave nothing for him. I don't have time to study politics to go and sit down in parliament and sit down all day. I had to build a brand for my children. If they're in a more comfortable position than me when they get older, them must could do that. I don't want no part of that. It had to take a dire scenario for me to involve myself in that. And it is because of that. It is because I just see all these young people getting in politics and they're smiling and they're chanting, yeah, yeah, yeah. But when you want to make noise for your community, I hope they don't throw him out. Or I hope they don't silence him. It don't make sense. If you getting critique as an issue as a party in both parties, the leading parties, because anytime you critique either side, is the enemy. Then it will never have prosperity. It will never have change. It will never have governance. If nobody good governance, if nobody can query you. So even the young ones who come in now, who excited, who exuberant, who young and energetic and want to change things in the community, when they attempt to and they meet opposition, because they're under the fold of the party, they can't do nothing sell. And then you know who go look bad Shervon in the end? They go say, we pay it and you can't do nothing. Really sad, boy. But anyhow.
Dr. Ward put a comment here. Dr. Ward said, I was happy to work along with you, gentlemen. And Dr. Ward, we were really happy to work with you, not just work with you, but to always have your support. As I call you, I can't remember if it was on when we were on the program the last time, but I call you a mother to the association. To us, a mother and a mentor. We thank you very much, Dr. Ward, for your support always. Right? And for this event, yes, but always we thank you for your support.
Anyhow, Shervon, I see David, our AI avatar, and all them not see the screen. It's too bright.
Yeah, too bright. We ain't seen it.
You ain't seen it at all?
Yeah. Now we seen it a little better now that you.
I realize that after I hang back there to see it.
Yeah.
I realize he watching his time now. So he modify we talking plenty and he waiting. So as I said, Shervon, and this is why the consultative process we wanted after is so important. Mario and I were just sitting talking, and Mario said, "Boy, feels if you all could develop that." And I love to give kudos the kudos. When somebody give you a good idea, give people the kudos. We have a kind of way that we want to take people ideas and run with it and make it our own. He gave me a brilliant idea. He said, "Boy, why don't you put this in an avatar?" And because he worked with a lot of young men, his his directive was, "Hey, this could be something good for young boys who don't have fathers." And he's trained in a way to mentor them, and he's trained in a way. And I said, "Boy, right now we have a gap when it comes to outreach, because like today and every other day when we tell men come out or they call or they be a part, sometimes I don't know if they are ashamed. I don't know if they have to wait till the situation get really, really bad or what. They don't. And I said we could find a way to use this technology just as we did with the court pay system. Well, the app or the idea of getting electronic payments, and we thank the court and judiciary for then buying over the whole project itself into court pay. This is our next way we think that we could use technology to help with outreach and to help with mentorship. So let me see if I could get him. No, this is our test. So he is trained based on the research that we have done in our issue paper, Shervon, and a little bit beyond that, trained also when it comes to the discussions that we had at IMD, as well as in to give responses on certain issues and things pertaining to mentorship, pertaining to, and we did it in a manner, must say, Taraj, where it wasn't selfish, single fathers ish, it's family ish, it's family supportish, it's for married couples, it's for single mothers, single fathers that might have a genuine discussion. This is just a test mode. We have a tentative sponsor in mind that should be able to help us build it out so that it could be built out and the country won't have to be charged for it and possibly shared across the region. So let me see. Let me reach out to him, tell him if he's seen. So what I did, I he's on my phone, so it's an app. So I just cast it onto the television screen so that you could see better, but it's really meant for an app. So as I said, bear with me. I will ask him some questions. Siobhan, if you want to ask something, I'll try my best to hold the talk button and see if he'll hear you, or you can ask me and I'll ask him for you. Right? Before the other phone, I doing this on my phone. I normally do my zooms on, do this show on. So I wanna just do that. That's why I'm using this room. All right. Hey, good afternoon, David. This is Ronnie here. I'm about to go on a talk show with a couple of my friends. We want to talk about mentorship. We want to talk about co-parenting. You think you want to join me for that discussion with these guys? We're going on right now. Oh, what happened there, boy? Let me pull it back up. Sorry about that. Who did go back here? Think we had them sitting waiting too long. Hey, David. This is Ronnie. I'm about to go on to a talk show with a couple of my friends. I think having you on the show with me would be beneficial to talk about mentorship, to talk about family and co-parenting. Do you want to join us?
Hey, Ron, that sounds like a fantastic opportunity. I'd be more than happy to join you on the show and share insights on mentorship, family, and co parenting. Let's make it an engaging discussion.
You guys here in Shervon?
Yeah, turn up your volume a little bit still though.
All right, let me turn it up some more. So, David, a guy just called me. His wife, he and his wife broke up. He isn't getting access to his children. He wants to understand the difference between custody and care and control. Can you help him out with that?
Of course, Ronnie, custody generally refers to the legal right to make decisions about the child's upbringing, while care and control involve the day to day management of the child's needs, like meals and bedtime. The child typically lives with the parent who has care and control. It's important for both parents to work towards an arrangement that benefits the child and respects both parents' rights.
So, what are you saying? As a father, would I have the opportunity to get sole custody? Do you think I have any chances of doing that in Trinidad and Tobago?
In Trinidad and Tobago, the courts focus on the best interests of the child when determining custody arrangements. While sole custody is possible, it typically requires showing that it's the child's best interest. It's often encouraged for parents to seek shared arrangements, which allow both parents to be actively involved in the child's life. If you believe sole custody is necessary, it's important to gather evidence and perhaps seek legal guidance to present your case effectively.
Thank you so much, David. I have my friend Shervon with me. I'm going to ask him some questions to give to you. Are you willing to answer them?
Absolutely, Ronnie. Feel free to ask any questions Javon might have. I'm here to help in any way I can.
Shervon,
Hi, David.
let me see. Just now, let me see if I can hold it so you could hear from your. Oh no, you in my ears, boy. So you wouldn't hear. So ask me and I'll ask.
All right. Ask him, how can we encourage parents to co-parent and to steer away from conflict when in separated relationships?
Hey, David. So Siobhan just asked, how can we help parents who parent and come up with good strategies when it comes to conflict resolution? Can you help?
Hey, Siobhan, that's a great question. Helping parents with conflict resolution involves several strategies. First, encouraging open, honest communication is key. Parents should focus on the child's needs rather than personal grievances. Techniques like active listening, where both parties truly hear and understand each other, can be beneficial. It's also helpful to set clear boundaries and stick to them. Involving a neutral third party, like a mediator, can also help facilitate constructive discussions. Ultimately, the goal is to foster a cooperative co parenting relationship that prioritizes the child's well being.
Hey, David. Thanks so much.
You're welcome, Ronnie.
Good. So I
I'm
end.
glad to help.
So I'm ending the
If there's
conversation with
anything
him.
else you or Siobhan need, don't hesitate to reach out.
I'm
Best of
and
luck with the talk show.
thank you, bro. Thank you. So I'm ending the conversation as Ronnie, and I'll ask
No
him.
problem at all,
I'll give him
Ronnie.
another
Take your time.
scenario as if I'm a married person and interested in getting some advice from my spouse and myself, right?
Okay.
Hey, David, my name's Jonathan. My wife is here with me as well. Her name's Amy. We've been married for 5 years now. And I mean, we don't agree on everything. We have some issues at home. I don't know. Sometimes we want to spice things up and we just don't know how to do it. Can you assist us?
Hey, Jonathan. Nice to meet you and Amy. It's completely normal for couples to face challenges and want to keep things exciting. One way to do this is by trying new activities together, something neither of you has done before. It can be as simple as cooking a new recipe or taking a dance class. Also, setting aside dedicated time for each other, free from distractions, can really help strengthen your connection. Communication is key, so talk openly about your desires and boundaries. Little surprises or gestures of appreciation can also go a long way in keeping the relationship fresh and vibrant.
Hey, David, I heard you mention dance class. What's your favorite type of dance? I love the merengue. What about you?
Hey, Jonathan, that's great to hear. Merengue is such a lively and fun dance. Personally, I'm a fan of salsa. It's energetic and the rhythm really gets you moving. Plus, it's a great way to connect with your partner. Dance is such a wonderful way to express yourself and bond with someone.
Hey, thanks so much, David. Another question. We have a daughter, and she's 16 years of age. She's at the age where she wants to go to the carnival parties. I don't know if you've heard of carnival in Trinidad and Tobago, but her mom and I, we concerned about letting her go out to these parties. How can we communicate this to her?
Hey, Jonathan, I understand your concerns. Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago is a vibrant and exciting event, but it's important to ensure your daughter's safety. When communicating with her, it's crucial to approach the conversation with understanding and openness. Start by acknowledging her desire to enjoy the festivities and express your concerns about safety and well being. Encourage a dialogue where she can share her thoughts and feelings and work together to establish guidelines and boundaries that everyone is comfortable with. You might also explore attending some events together to give her a sense of freedom while ensuring she's safe.
Hey, David, I have my friend Jim here. He wants to ask a few questions, right?
Sure thing, Jonathan. I'm here to help. Jim, feel free to ask any questions you have.
Hey, David. I got some really bad news today. My wife doesn't know about it, but I just found out I did a DNA test and I found out that my sons aren't my biological sons. I don't know how to communicate that to them, and I'm really depressed right now. Do you have any advice to how I can deal with this new scenario?
I'm really sorry to hear that, Jim. That sounds incredibly difficult. It's important to process your own emotions first before having any conversations. Consider seeking support from a counselor or a trusted friend who can provide guidance and a listening ear. When you're ready, have an open and honest conversation with your wife. Choose a calm setting where you both can talk without interruptions. Be honest about the situation and how you're feeling. Remember, it's okay to ask for support, whether from professionals or your loved ones, as you navigate through this challenging time.
But it really hurts, man. I mean, I love my kids. I mean, what do I do from here? I don't know if I could continue living. What do I do?
I'm truly sorry to hear you're in such pain, Jim. It's important to know that you're not alone in this, and there are people who care about you and want to support you through it. Please reach out to someone you trust, whether it's a family member, a close friend, or a mental health professional who can help you process these overwhelming feelings. Your kids love and need you, and it's okay to take things one step at a time. Remember, it's okay to ask for help, and there are resources available to guide you through this. You don't have to face it alone.
You mentioned resources, David, but where? Where can I find a group that supports men? What resources are you aware of? Are you aware of any that can help me?
Yes, Jim, there are resources available that can help you. In Trinidad and Tobago, organizations like the Single Fathers Association can provide support and guidance. They focus on helping fathers navigate challenging situations and can offer advice, counseling, and a community of other fathers who understand what you're going through. Additionally, consider reaching out for support groups that can offer more personalized help. Remember, taking the step to reach out for support is a powerful move towards healing.
Jim, sorry, David. I noticed you're saying Tobago. Remember, it's Tobago. Bay. Do you want to try that? Tobago.
Thanks for pointing that out, Jonathan. It's Tobago, pronounced as Tobago.
Ah,
I appreciate the correction. It's always good to
very good. Very good. Very
got
good.
it, Jonathan. If there's anything else you need or want to discuss, feel free to let me know. I'm here to help.
You want to try with one with mentorship, Shervon, and then we'll at least so you'll see the capability of what is capable, what and how we can assist. I mean, this was just a test that was drawn up in a matter of a week. It was built and put forward, and we see so much promise in this. As I said, it's built in a way not only to deal with single father issues about court and child. And yes, it has that part of it with separated couples, but also to give advice to married couples who may be on the brinks as well, and also to give advice to young boys and girls who may need some type of mentorship or strength or encouragement due to peer pressure and these things. You want to ask something, Shabon? One more thing? Because first, he could go anywhere.
So I wanted to ask him, how do we mentor young boys away from a life of crime?
Okay. Hey, David, I have a question for you. Can you give some advice? Give me some advice on ways that, as a man, that I can mentor boys or other men like myself can mentor boys away from a life of criminal behavior.
That's a great question. Mentoring young boys is a powerful way to guide them away from negative influences and towards a positive path. Here are a few ways you can make an impact. 1. Be a role model. Demonstrate positive behavior, ethics, and values in your own life. Actions speak louder than words. 2. Listen and communicate. Make time to listen to their concerns and perspectives. Open communication helps build trust and understanding. 3. Encourage education and skills development. Promote the importance of education and help them discover their passions, whether it's sports, arts, or other skills. 4. Teach responsibility and accountability. Encourage them to take responsibility for their actions and understand the consequences of their choices. 5. Create a supportive environment. Provide a safe space where they can express themselves without judgment. 6. Connect with community resources. Engage them with programs and activities that align with their interests and promote positive growth. By investing time and showing genuine care, you can help guide them towards a fulfilling and productive life. It's about being present and consistent in your support.
Hey, David, you've been great. You've contributed a lot to the show today. I just want to thank you for your participation. Now I'm about to go grab a roti. It's lunchtime here. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate your kind words. Enjoy your lunch and take care. If you ever
You there, Rondell? 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 Mark, is it that Rondell got knocked off?
He's still there. He's still there, but that was quite interesting.
Mark, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm the way things are trending now, and the way that we see the on a global scale how we are going forward. I think it's very important for that to be included. It's a nice initiative.
Okay, glad to hear, man. Yes, and to all listeners, hopefully Ronald is back on, gets back on shortly. It's definitely a new initiative we hope to put out into our the services that we offer soon, so that men can have access to it. Because Mark, one of the things we keep saying is that it's very difficult for us to answer every single question on repeat that that men have, and not just men and women reach out to us about, and a myriad of issues they reach out to us with in terms of processes, during separation, custody, access, maintenance, all of those things, and there are other things. As with all things with artificial intelligence, we have to be conscious of the information we get, aware of the information we're getting, so that, I mean, this is for the adult population. This isn't for boys. This segment of it isn't for boys as yet, so that use it and use it wisely when we do put it out there, because we always say to men, and it's I don't know, it's probably a cultural challenge that we have, that we need to read. We need to educate ourselves. We need to do research. I mean, there are topics we have spoken about en route, and right after we finish discussing it, probably a week later, someone calls us and asks a question pertaining to the same thing that we just discussed. Rondell, back on?
Yeah, back on. So the
Right.
back two died at the same time, anyhow.
Right.
Tell me something, gentlemen. How do people access this new initiative?
We haven't put it out there as
Yeah.
yet for them to access it as yet.
Yeah, it isn't out as yet. That's just the test on it. It's developed. Even though it is a test, it answers almost every question to things that we deal with and broader. And as I said, we are in talks with our sponsor because it needs to be, paid for to be for free, right? So to be put on the Google Play Store free, the developers have to, be compensated for it. So we have some sponsors that we plan to speak to, and this is an initiative that the state should have been jumping at, seeing that we have this type of technology, and that is why this IMD was so critical and important. And look at just what 30 minutes of discussion between two persons that were there and saw something that was there caused this to happen in a week right after. So imagine, Shervon, had we all sat together and had discussions, this is something that could have moved out of there, and we still have to do it, Shervon. Even though the OPM didn't see the value in it, we still have to call together the groups and put things forward like this AI avatar app and other things that we discussed there, and do it ourselves, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I know today, because this was our first program since the IMD, that we needed to get things off our chest, and we got it off our chest, right? But the work still has to go on, and I am heartened, outside of those things that we were not pleased with that we mentioned. I'm heartened by the participants on the day, the panelists, who all expressed a willingness to come together and advocate for the issue, to bring change to the issues that we've been highlighting over the years. And to me, I take heart in that approach, because I hope that it puts the politician in a position where they have to listen. Right? I really hope so. And I say to Biznat, good afternoon, Biznat. Thanks for joining us, brother. Like Dr. Nils says here, he says, good evening, gents. We really appreciate all that you guys have done and continue to do on behalf of men. I pray that you all do not get discouraged. But Dr. Nils, I want to ask you to pray for something additional to that. Pray that men become encouraged as well. Sure. Not just that we don't become discouraged. Because we continue to say the Fathers Association on its own cannot bring about the change that we need to see in society. We need men across the country, across Trinidad and Tobago, to stand up. The things that
Shervon, do. Shervon, I witnessed a marathon possibly a week ago, if so much. And I am certain I saw must be 1,000 men. You understand?
And I would love to see, and I'm not saying anything is wrong with that. I know we have marathoners, we have persons that have their interest in certain things. And if it's a marathon, we had a throw, we go throw one, and we're afraid. You understand? But we must also have our men see the value of participating in these things. And I don't know if they think it's a sign of weakness to be seen at these events, or if they feel people could think we're misogynist or whatever. But everybody having their matches, of all inclinations and interests and of all designs, and proudly having it too. Men have to be able to do the same on behalf of ourselves and our next generation of men, young boys as well. And the young boys are willing to be led.
Yeah. I was going to say, with the things that politicians do, and no surprise to me, I think, Rondell, we said in the last couple months, we started to say we noticed a change in the language the minister is using, the things the minister is saying, as it relates to now including men and boys in her language, or in the language of the ministry, right? We started to acknowledge
Right.
that. But before that, we were saying at nauseum that the conversations happening around the societal issues did not include men and boys. And then we saw a change in the language and the tone. And then I don't know what it is happening the last couple weeks, right? But at the
When
end
it
of
was
the day,
time to see action, it wasn't there. Imagine an artificial intelligent avatar just said to your answer that your actions will speak louder than your words. So be able to back up your words with your actions.
But the point I'm making, when politicians behave like how politicians behave, it is really a surprise to me, right? The history of politics and politicians is we have more people who serve themselves than people who serve others, right? And again, who want to take it personal, that's your business. We're talking about the whole history and calling no one person, right? In the main, people are generally dissatisfied with how they have been represented. And that is why you see them hopping from one party to the next party, back to the next party. Oh, and this is not just in Trinidad, this is across the world. People are dissatisfied with how they are represented. So my thing, my agitation is towards those who are selecting representatives, Rondell. Us, the population, the population. That's why I'm agitated with. Because we accept this type of representation. And I'm not talking to the people who drink the political juice, who high on the political juice. I talking about the everyday man and woman who just operate like they don't care. Do you know how many men and women? I want to mention this before we close today. Who we assisted over the years, men and women, grandmothers, who I sent these flyers to and information bulletins about the 3 days of activities on them. And they never showed up. But when the grandchild was in problems, when they couldn't see the grandchild, when the son was in trouble, when all kind of things happening, they know we number though, and they're calling we non-stop. So
Glad you see it.
Treatment is not in the politicians. I tell people when I walk along the road and I hear a dog bark, I don't jump. I don't act surprised. Because that's what dogs do. Dogs bark. If I hear a dog meow, then I go in shock. Because that's not what it is do. So when politicians behave like politicians, I don't be surprised. Right? My disappointment is in the people of Trinidad and Tobago who continue to allow our to roll over and allow anything to go with us. Anything. All of the young men who come who take the life.
It's a mental conditioning too. And and I'll be honest, and that way is had to be resilient in this kind of thing. And even resilience have its point to it. But there's a conditioning of the mind, It is it is as if your population has been programmed. You understand? So in the direction of the debate of choices being made, we look at the directions and the things to which those who the choices are being made upon, meaning the political persons presenting themselves, and the direction of the narrative. It's always, if not most time, on our diversity, because they understand mindsets of the human being. Diversity, who look like me, who is my gender, who is my race, who on my socioeconomic standing. They understand that. Those who look like me will listen to me. Those who are from where I am from will listen to me. Better put one that look like me and one that is mine, because more likely than not, that one will be for me. So it's a conditioning of the mind that has been so repetitive, and nobody really stands up to it. If you really, and I'm being honest and no disrespect to nobody, because at the end of the day, and this is no plug for me because I don't have no political will. If you, as a person, look at many a politician before they were in politics, what layman or humanitarian service they was in before? Many of them, there are many that were, but there are many more, I think, that you only knew when they became a political face. You didn't see them in your community. You didn't see them advocating for nothing. You didn't see them giving of themselves for nothing. And I am not saying it is every single one. But, and I'm not saying that a man can come in and then fall into that perspective as well. But really and truly, your real voting card will really be on what somebody has put out in that person historically has put out in their lifetime. It's most time based on one. A born a PNM, I will die a PNM. A born a UNC, I got die a UNC. Either African, either Indian. A mix. Well, look what when you're that Douglas, I don't know what you just vote for. You understand? So long and short of the story, or this is a woman, and right now it's a woman movement, and we want women in power, and those who are the masterminds of politics, they put exactly what they could use. So sometimes even when they offer up a woman, or offer up, sometimes they don't offer up the woman in the goodness of their heart, poor woman. They offer up because they know this is what's selling right now. Or they offer up somebody else of a different race, a black person, because they know this is what's selling right now. And we go get people to buy in and buy it. You understand? So you, as you rightfully say, the individual have to now start to ask yourself some meaningful questions this year. You understand? Meaningful. What and how is this going to contribute into my life? And your life doesn't mean your life in isolation. Your life extends beyond you. Your children who here, your children to come, if you don't have none, your grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren, then also your neighbor and your neighbor children, your cousin and your cousin children, your wider community, the infrastructure in your community. Your life is a broad space. You have any basketball or sporting facilities in your community that benefits the children and the young people at large? Are these things there? Are there centers in my community where families could go and have conflict resolution? Are there spaces for these things? And if it isn't there right now, and if also those who want to come in are not saying that they want to implement things that will improve your life, your neighborhood living, and every other living right around you any better, then what? What you vote for? Because your mother used to vote for that, or your father used to vote for that. 99% of the people right now must not even the same religion their mother and father was. At the end of the day, you need to make a decision on what is before you at this point in time. And I'm not telling nobody who to vote for, because I didn't vote for years, and I might want to vote this year too. But you have to show me it worth voting for you, because I want to execute my right. I want to do it. It's not that I don't want to do it, why I haven't done it. So I think if the ground start making a sound as into what they want, you feel Shervon, the politicians wouldn't dance to the beat of the drum?
Man, that is what I'm saying.
And
That is what I'm saying.
And they need also that when they put those in power, to hold them to what they put them to do. Not because I put them so don't bash them. Don't drink that soup, don't drink that porridge. At the end of the day, we trusted you to do something and we expect you to do it, or else we don't expect to see you again. Simple as that. You don't hate nobody, but long and short of the story, you know, it has. I know you.
Hunter Search and Rescue is telling us good afternoon from Balance Rambrat. Afternoon, brother.
Hey, good afternoon, Mr. Rambarat, one of our awardees this year as well. And long and short of the story, that is the thinking we have to have. We had to put them differences aside and really study what and how we're going to progress as a nation. If you know, I hate to see this stupidness with African and Indian. African calling Indian UNC automatic and Indian calling an African PNM automatic. This is exactly what causing us to lose in the end. Our diversity of race is a blessing. I don't understand if we don't see how much of a blessing it is. I've been to countries in Asia that never see black people and never see in China, never see Indian people, some of them. And when they say they want to take a picture of you because they never see, they only see you on a TV screen before. We have a diversity of race, diversity of music, diversity of culture, diversity of food. That is why we are a paradise. Because you can come here from Asia and meet nearly every race of person. That is not a common thing all the time. And also not just meet them in that heritage, still meet them with a Trinbagonian twist, which even rare. Because if you go and meet them in China, they're not going to be like we Trini Chinese. If you go and meet them in India, they're not going to be like we Trini Indian. If you go and meet them in Africa, it's not going to be like we Trini African. And the only people who cannot understand and to appreciate that is we the people ourselves. And that's why I say it's a conditioning of the mind through the use or the manipulation of playing with the diversities that we have as human beings. Even though we have one constant, which is race. We are all of the human race. I could take my heart and put it in an Indian man. An Indian man could take his lungs and put it inside of me if I need it. And we always do it when we need it, when we're ready to dead. Like during COVID, we don't study who is whatever race. It is time for us to put that race stupidness aside. And the day we do that, we will cause the two political head parties to come with true and meaningful representation of what governance is. But if a man know he could come and say, hey, Jahachi Bai, and all the African go on so and all the Indian go on so, he ain't no work to do. Makes sense now, man. That might take to close off.
Natasha says the Caribbean needs a mindset shift. Yes, we agree, Natasha. But we are saying that mindset shift is not going to start with the politicians. Has to start with the people.
No.
If we think, add to what Rondell is saying there, America didn't wake up one morning and say, let me give black people the rights. South Africa didn't wake up one morning and say, let me give black people the rights. It didn't start like that. The people on the ground is who shook the ground and said no more. And that forced the politicians, forced them into action. So until we as a society in Trinidad and Tobago come together and shake the ground, our politicians will continue to play games with us. We are not going to see change. All we will see is exchange. Year after year, or election cycle after election cycle, we'll see exchange, but we will see no change. Because the man on the ground, the woman on the ground, we are not coming together to shake the ground and demand change and accountability and representation. So, folks, Rondell with us. We are about 5:59. Folks, we want to thank you all for tuning in. We want to acknowledge all of the comments. Mac, always thank you to the Power 102 team, the Power 102 family, the executive who made the decision to create this very important space for men. And I will see you all next week, Friday, God's willing, same time, 4:15. Rondell?
Yeah. So once again, Shervon, Mac, Trinidad and Tobago, we always pleased to be here. Sometimes challenging for us to get here, but it is encouraging when you guys come out and put your comments, when you guys come out and share the live, when you guys come out and spread the message and let us know that, hey, we're not just doing this in vain. It is important to let us feel your support. I am telling you all, I don't put no cover in my mouth. It is important for us. It tells us that what we're doing is actually impacting or making some type of shift. Some may not see it important to do this, but we see the value of it. So we need you guys to support this, share it, encourage somebody to come out. You know our father need help. Don't tell him them ask Rondell, please. Tell him come Friday and listen to them when they're talking. They're right there. Come and talk too. And I want you guys to continue monitoring the progress of that artificial intelligence app, David, that we want to bring out when it comes to mentorship and family support. As I said, it is for entire family support, not no father thing alone or mother thing alone. It's for family support. Keep following up with that. Hopefully, we're going to get that sponsorship where we can actually share this across the Caribbean. So with places that we cannot reach and voices that cannot hear our voice all the time could reach and get that information via that avatar that we have developed. That test, we thank RSC for the development and their brilliant work in such a short space of time. And I mean, we will continue to work with them. Remember, I Love My Community on the 22nd of December. It starts at 1 p.m. We're having a march, a grand parade. We've seen a lot of crime escalate in the Kunupia area. So we're coming out with the police youth clubs. We're coming out with the Port of Spain Pathfinder marching band. And we're going to have a parade where we are saying that they're done with the crime in the Kunupia and environ area. And we're encouraging you all to come down there. We're going to have the bouncy castle slide, zip line, everything as we always do. We're also going to have David as well as some other avatars there so you can interact with them yourself. On that day, Santa Claus gifts, everything is free. The grand finale fireworks, we're looking out for you guys. We're going to also be awarding the IMD guys who did not get their awards on that day. They will be awarded on that day. We're going to have the Father of the Year award on that day. We're going to have the Faisal Mohammed Youth Achievement Award for a boy and a girl, one from Trinidad, one from Tobago on that day. A lot of fun at the Stalagmite Grounds in Kunupia. We'll talk more about it next week, which I think may be our last week of podcast for the year. God's blessings upon you guys this weekend. Stay safe, stay safe, stay safe until we meet again next week.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Brothers.
Yes. Thank you, Rondell. Thank you, Shervon. That's it for today's edition of Heart Talk, featuring the Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. God's willing, they'll be back with us next Friday.